Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel today. Today I want to talk about Ned rig lures and another fairly inexpensive alternative to Ned rigs if you happen to be fishing Ned rigs and you snag up and break off your last Ned rig and you don't have another one handy but you have some other tackle with you. So let's start off talking about Ned rigs. Ned rigs typically use things like a shroom head, jig head, and they come in various sizes. There's a smaller one on top, and then there's two larger sizes on the bottom. And they usually have a bait keeper. You can kind of see that little pin there sticking down. That's to help keep the plastic body that you thread onto the hook in place. And Ned rigs come in a lot of different styles and colors. Most of them run into that like 2 3/4 to 3 inch, and some even bigger. But once you start getting into 4 inch, it becomes more like a worm versus a Ned rig. So let's just for now just say around 2 3/4 to 3 inches in length, typically for a typical Ned rig. But and these are fantastic lures. I've got a friend who fishes with them a lot, and he's very successful with them. The other day we were fishing somewhere, and he was catching some fish with them, and I didn't have any Ned rigs or any of these shroom heads. So I was looking for something in my tackle box that would be an interesting alternative that would be similar or an analog type bait to the Ned rig. And what I came up with was this. So let me slide over here. So basically, I'm just using a standard 1/8 ounce jig head, and I also have a 1/4 ounce there to show the difference in size. And I just threaded on a small crappie magnet on it. So basically, the crappie magnet is another soft plastic body. It's smaller than the typical Ned rig. These are probably about 1 1/4, 1.5 versus like 2 3/4 net. And I started tossing this around, and lo and behold, I was catching fish. And not only small fish, I was catching some pretty good sized bass with it as well. So I didn't know if that was a fluke or not. So this was about 2 weeks ago when this happened. So I was out yesterday fishing my local creek, and I was struggling to get anything to bite. I was starting to see some small bait fish, but not much else. And I decided to switch over to this again. And lo and behold, I'm catching fish. Pretty good ones. As a matter of fact, I posted a short video on my channel yesterday of a really nice smallmouth I pulled out of the creek that I was fishing in. So, but I will say this: there was a couple of fish I did lose yesterday, and I realized one of the things that maybe hurts this lure versus the Ned rig is this. And let me compare the hook sizes side by side. So this is the 1/8 ounce jig head, and if we compare this to the standard Ned rig size hook, you can see if I hold them back to back like this, you can see it's a bit smaller. And what's going to happen there is sometimes the larger fish, you may not get as good of a hook set. And you also notice the hook gauge wire is a little thinner compared to the hook gauge on the Ned rig. So I got to looking to see if the 1/8 ounce, if there's maybe it's something else I could upgrade to give me the similar action. So this is the next size jig head, which is a 1/4 ounce. And it uses a slightly heavier gauge wire. It's still a little bit smaller than the shroom heads that you find on your typical Ned rig setup, but it's a little bit closer in size and diameter to those. So the next time I go out fishing, I'm going to give these a try as well because I think they'll work good. The only X factor with the 1/4 ounce jig heads are the faster fall rate. But the way I'm working these baits is I'm not really concerned too much about the fall rate because typically I'm throwing them in to an area I feel that bass are hanging out in, and then I let the bait drop to the bottom, and then I'll just let it just sit there for a few seconds before I pull it up and twitch it, and then I'll let it sit back down to the bottom, pull it up and twitch it, and that seems to be the technique as far as being able to get the bass's interest in the lure and having them come after it. So if you have a chance, and if you have some of these 1/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce jig heads in your tackle box and some crappie magnet lures, but I assume any other small lure, around that size of a crappie magnet would work just as well. Uh, Give it a try, and if you're running short on Ned rigs or you've just snagged up and broke off your last one, this is an excellent option, and it would help keep you catching fish. So thanks again, as always, for watching, and get out on the water when you can. The weather is really starting to turn nice here in southern Kentucky. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.